Dakgangjeong literally means chicken, sweet, crisp. This dish was originally made with an entire section chicken, but then it later became a popular Korean street food using only chicken wings. The problem with the wings is that they're really greasy and heavy, and if they aren't cooked a long time, then they're also tough. What I have done here is use the same cooking process that I showed for the fried chicken recipe in my previous video. These are not oily, they're really crisp and delicious. I also ramped up the flavors in the sauce quite a bit too, as you'll see.
This recipe begins with 4 cloves of garlic and a couple of dried chilies. Now, most people buy their own chilies that are pre-dried in stores. Don't do this. If you can possibly avoid it, don't do this. Get your own chilies, dry them, and then store them in a box in the refrigerator. All you have to do is run the oven with a fan on at about 80 degrees Celsius overnight. Just put them out on a rack, put them in there. When you see what they're like, smell this, the deep, rich aroma that you get from the ones that you dry yourself. You'll never buy that flavorless crap in the bag again. This is the way to go. So I'm going to use a couple of different types of chilies. You can put them all together, and they keep almost forever. Once they're dried and they're in the refrigerator in a box, keep forever. So I've got a sweet one here, I've got a green one, and I've got a red one. So I'm going to use 3 of these. Then chop up the chilies into pieces, remove the stems, discard the stems from them, chop up the chilies, mince the garlic, and we'll start heating the pan. I've got a pan here that's heating on 6 out of 1 to 10. 6. I'm using a slightly smaller pan than I often do because I want to have enough oil to cover the bottom of the pan, but without having tons of oil. I'm going to put the chilies in. Minced garlic, and we'll cook these for a few minutes, as you'll see. Turn the heat down to 3, by the way. This garlic is starting to brown a little bit too quickly. We don't want that. You just want to soften it a little bit, not to burn it. We don't want it bitter. This has only been cooking about 2 minutes in all. That's enough time. I've turned the heat down. I'm adding chicken stock, some soy sauce, and I'm going to bring this back up to a simmer for just a couple of minutes. Got a simmer. The main purpose of this is you want to reconstitute those dried chilies. You're not, and soften the garlic a little bit. You're not really looking for a deep cook at this point. You're just really trying to bring the chilies back to life. Now I'm going to add somewhere around 3 tablespoons of honey to this. And I'm going to turn the heat off now, and I'm just going to let this steep. Just let it stand like this. The chilies fully absorb the moisture and come back to life. And then we'll puree it. But I'm just going to let it stand like this with the heat off for about 15 minutes now. After it's sat for a while, now I'm going to add that pear chili vinegar to this that you have the recipe for there. And blend this up. Then we're going to return it to the heat again. And we're going to maintain it at a slow simmer like this for about 15 minutes. If you taste it, you'll notice that it's almost like magic. After about 15 minutes, suddenly it's not as hot as it was anymore. Some kind of transformation takes place, and it starts being less hot. That's the point that I'm looking for. So about 15 minutes, then put it off the heat and finish up the chicken. So we've got our vegetables that are going to go into the pressure cooker. I've got half a head of garlic. I'm just going to slice it in half. There's no point in peeling it and everything. And once again, more chicken stock cubes. They're useful. You can use chicken stock if you want. This sort of thing, it's the easiest solution. It's cheap, it's quick, and it'll work just fine because we're just looking to make sure that the chicken flavor stays the same. I have to move this basket around a little bit, find a place. Add the water to it. If you're watching my channel, hopefully you already know how to do this, but these are chicken wings. You've got the wing tip, which is not going to be used. That's good for making stocks from, but it really has no other application. And then you just split the other two parts like that. And then you begin layering the chicken around in the steamer basket. And eventually you get all the chicken in here. It doesn't have to be exact. It can be kind of haphazard. It'll be fine. By the way, if you want this really mind-numbingly hot, instead of just the carrots and onions and celery I put down there, you can put some hot chilies. You could put several, if you want, red chilies in there, or even habaneros. You want to make it mind-numbingly hot, you can. I think this sauce is already damned hot as it is. It doesn't really need any more help, but, you know, to each their own. And when steam starts to rush out of it, you know it's at temperature, lower the heat, and start the time counting. And after about 20 minutes, this is what you get. You're going to pull this out, cool it down a little bit, but we're not going to cool it all the way like we did with the other chicken. We want to keep these pieces a little bit sticky so that they'll pick up the starch on them. So we're going to cool this down in a bowl for maybe half an hour. After about half an hour, I spread them out so that it's a single layer, by the way, too, so that they cool evenly. Now I'm just going to put an abundance of potato starch on these. You can use cornstarch too. Potato starch is more traditional and it's more easy to get where I'm at, so I'm going to use that. You have to kind of mix it around a little bit, then add more starch, toss it some more, and a little bit like this. You don't want to have it swimming in starch, but you want to have it evenly coated, and this looks just fine. Now I've got the oil heating up. I've seen people, novices, take the chicken and they dip one at a time in it. Yeah, it's great if you got like 3 pieces to do. If you know, in a restaurant you got piles of it to do, you're going to take it in a bowl and toss it. And it's time to revisit our sauce that's been standing here waiting for a while. You need to taste it and see, does it need more honey? Does it need more vinegar? Usually at this point you're going to decide it probably needs a little bit more honey. It needs to be a little bit sweeter. But again, it's personal preference. As is always the case, do not overcrowd your deep fryer. Use fresh oil. After they're fried, drain them on a little paper towel. Put them in a bowl. There's some of the sauce on it. Grab a little bit here. Make sure they're evenly coated. Some green onions too. Okay. Also look for my cocktail book, Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond, Advanced Mixology, available through Amazon online.